Through 5-6 questions today. That's kind of the goal, is to get bulk of questions asked, so that way you guys get the most out of a day like today.
What is your best setup for a double leg?
For a double leg? Yeah. So for me, if I'm here with Mr. Hensley, because I like taking behemoths down, right? So for me, I have to get you, so most people in a jiu-jitsu tournament are doing one of two things. They're either immediately going, you, sitting, right? Especially if they've seen you grapple before, or if they are going to do that, they're looking for immediate pop. So all I'm looking to do is to shoot from the outside off a forward step. So what I'm going to look to do is drop step and change levels. For those of you who've watched college and Olympic wrestling for the last decade, Jordan Burroughs, I'm here, we slap bump, I'm going to step back and level change. Because all I'm looking for is Jeremy to do exactly what he's doing. To reach, especially if he reaches with that lead hand, that's going to help me out. So I'm here, I step back, drop. As soon as I see his foot land, I just spring forward. It is simple.
If you know they're going to pull guards,
No. Unfortunately, I think pulling guard should be -2 points every time. I think you should give up a takedown every time. I think it's bullshit that it's not. I'm not king of the world, though, so I don't get to make the rules. But a lot of times, if they're going to pull guard, he's literally just going to touch my hand and sit. I'm going to look like I'm shooting, so that way I can look up the ref and be like, 2, and he's going to look at me and go, no. Because I do it every time. Like, every time I go to a tournament, we'll go here, and I go, and just hope that a ref is like friendly to wrestling and gives me the 2. They're generally not, but you hope, right? So when we're here, bop, bop, step back, level change. The goal is kind of like a cobra. You're sinking back into that heel. The second he steps forward, bop, springing forward. So like I said, it's a little light on the setup side, but something I think a little bit of timing and walking out and knowing that. I think that's something we struggle at a lot of times going into competitions, is we kind of walk out half thinking it's a gym rule or half thinking it's the Olympics and going, I'm just, and not coming out with, listen, I don't think you should have if he steps with his left foot, I'm going to quarter turn 25 degrees and then I'm going to do this. I always say I'm looking for 3 things and I'm looking to stop 3 things. I think your game plan for a jiu-jitsu tournament should be that fundamentally simple. I know I'm going to look for a clean takedown, an early pass, and heavy control positions. That's always where I'm trying to be, And from what I'm trying to stop, I need to stop him from getting my hips out from underneath me and getting underneath me to my feet. So I know a lot of guys are going to try that. I need to keep him in front of me, or I need to stay in dominant position. So I need to keep him from spinning, inverting, things of that nature. And I'm trying to stop, because at the black belt level, I know most of the people I'm going against, I'm trying to stop their one dominant move, whether it be a foot lock, arm bar, etc. So a lot of you guys need to come out with a very simplified 3-and-3 game plan. 3 things I'm trying to work, 3 things I'm trying to stop. Does that make sense? All right. So I don't want you guys all running into each other. So don't go to finish these double, go 2 into the shot and then 1 finish. Be aware of your surroundings. But all you're looking for, guys, like I said, and practice it like you would be at a tournament. So I'm there, I step back, coil back. Because all I'm looking to do is I want to be able to touch the mat almost like I'm in a lunge position. Just sitting back a little more, so that way I can spring forward. And that sprinter, sprint through them type position. Because at some point, as my 4-year-old reminds me, wrestling is violent. But they all scream in the middle of practice. It's hilarious. What is wrestling? And then you get a group full of 4-year-olds screaming the word violent. Oh, it's my favorite part of practice every time. Sometimes doubles are just violent. And that's what they have to be. It's a little bit of timing, a little bit of violence, okay? Driller out. 1, 2, 3. A good question for me today.
So when somebody's in a turtle position, can you just show like the basic general mechanics of how you can set up 8 darts from if someone was in turtle?
So
If that's even a fit.
if I'm out in front of him or if I'm behind?
Either or, whatever
So-
you see being most advantageous.
So generally, if I get to a turtle and I want to go to any sort of a front choke, whether it's darts or anything like that, generally you're going to want to come back out front. So like if I'm here, let's say I'm working and I can't get his back for whatever reason, and you want to come back out front to set up that choke, one of the first things I'm going to look to do is with my top hand, I'm going to look to sneak. I like to just grab a little bit of that collar here, just keep pressure on him and keep that weight, because I want him to carry all 100 pounds of me right now. Jay's in the room, so I can't say the real weight. No, I'm not that heavy at the moment, actually. And then I'm going to sneak this hand here, boom, here and here. Now, once I go to this, you have to kind of be committed to the room. You know, like it's not one that you get a ton of time to go to. So when I'm here, I'm going to look to connect my elbow right underneath his chin, and I want to sit him out as hard as I can. Because my goal is to get this hand up to where I can wave at you. As soon as that hand can wave at you, I need to connect and start walking my hips in there. Because my goal is to get the back of his head right on across the center of my chest. Here. Here. As soon as I'm here, walk in, squeeze as needed. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we're here with Jeremy. Boom. I am generally going to ride, if I, working on taking his back, I'm going to ride kind of in this half position here. Because I'm trying to push into Jeremy. Because if Jeremy falls over here, that's good for me. I'm just going to continue working from here. But if he doesn't, it's really hard to move for Jeremy right here. Like if I'm putting my weight on Jeremy properly, go to move. It's hard for him to carry me and be able to do anything that he's wanting to do. He's having to kind of wait for my action here. So that's why I like coming to this position here. Because a lot of people will think you're trying to snap and come to the back and do a lot of that stuff. So if I'm here, I like to come here, bop, and walk in for that choke.
You do that part slowly again.
Yeah. So we're here. My hand goes from the hip. Here, I go to sit. Here. As soon as that hand snaps, here. To walk in there.
So your toe load is the thing that allows you to come through and actually get.
Because that sit through position is what allows you to get him to that hit. Because if he stays in that kind of all fours position, referees from wrestling or whatever, turtle, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be very hard to finish that choke because you're not going to have the leverage. You need to get him to that hip. Does that make sense? Other questions on this? Other than again? That answer your question, though?
Yeah, that's perfect. Just a small pivot from his question.
Yeah.
How do you defend when you're getting attacked by the darts?
Answer your telephone. Just like we were talking about for the head and arm choke. Very similar defense of you got to create that space and start actively fighting that elbow back out. So like if I'm here and Jeremy starts darsing me, boom, I'm here, he goes to sit. Boom, I have to get that elbow out, and I'm going to hand fight here. Like, I need to be walking my hips away from him and hand fighting here. Trying to come up as much as possible. Does that make sense? It's just fun to mess with.
Passing guard.
Okay, we'll get to that now.
Yeah.
No, you're good. That'll be the next question.
When you're sitting out, are you sliding a little bit or are you just sitting?
I'm sitting out because I want my weight in front of him. So I'm sitting out to get that weight out in front of him to kind of get that motion in 20.
Okay, so you're baseball sliding.
Yeah, like just like our baseball slide drill. Very similar to that.
That's what I was.
Other questions?
Would you prefer that finishing position opposed to like sprawling and having the darts launch into your chest?
I'll be honest, I've seen very limited results with that sprawling darts. Especially for someone who kind of knows what the fuck's going on. You'll get away with it at white belt a lot of the time because a lot of guys panic when you got their neck. But as I get here, if I get, into that darce and I start to hit that sprawling darce, a lot of guys will start to drag your elbow out and they're going to start fighting you off there. Like if they've seen a darce before, they should be able to defend there. All right. Drill her out. 1, 2, 3. You had a question.
Passing guard.
Okay, that's a great question. We spent a month passing guard. Dial it into something more particular.
Passing.
Passing full guard, okay.
Like opening full guard.
Opening. What I'm saying is, where are you struggling at it? Is it the opening side? Is it once you get it open, where do you go? Is it?
All of it.
Okay.
Jeez,
That was really informative for the group. Sometimes white belts, like we live in America, so they have the right to speak. But sometimes, just you want to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
All right, so we're here. We're in full guard. Couple things I'm going to go over with you guys, as far as details to look out for. So, couple things. So everyone talks about I want to be in a fair fight. I promise you I'm never trying to fight you fair. Whether it's jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, MMA, wrestling, whatever we're doing, I'm never trying to fight you fair. I'm trying to disadvantage you at every possible moment I physically can within the rule set that we've agreed to. So when I'm here, I'm trying to cut Jeremy in half. One of the easiest ways I'm going to do that, I don't care if you grab his belt, you grab his collar, I'm going to create pressure right on that belly button. And I'm going to grab that hip, kind of where that hip loop is on your gis. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to roll that over. I'm then going to open up to that side and drive my knee right up the middle of Jeremy, because I'm a gentleman like that. And as I lever this down, I'm going to look to pin that leg to the mat. As soon as that leg's pinned, I just want to replace that elbow with my shin. Because I have to start cutting him down and immobilizing as much of his body as I can. So now when I'm here, if Jeremy tries to move, I have full control of this leg and most of his hip. He can't get too terribly far from me without me agreeing to it.
This hurts real bad.
Now, once we're here, one of the simplest passes I like from this staple is just a split pass, because it works on 90% of the population except for Dewey, because he just splits with you and looks at you all funny like, oh yeah, I do yoga. Namaste, these nuts. But we're here. All we're going to do, I'm going to look to sit out and keep this staple down. Because what that's going to allow me to do is drive my shoulder here. Because I've already beaten Jeremy's upper body. I don't have to engage with all this. A lot of people are going to scoop the head and do all these things. He's not stopping me up here. His legs are going to be what stops me from passing. So I'm here, my back step, here, and I look to pass. Now, as soon as you get past, you have a couple options. One of my favorites from this is this overstep. Back step, overstep. It's a very simple pass, but it can get you into a lot of great positions. But the big thing whenever you're passing guard is isolate and beat him one step at a time. So when I'm here, when I get here and I isolate Jeremy's hips, now if Jeremy wants to move right now, I've isolated his hips. He can move his upper body as much as he wants, but with my entire body, I've isolated his hips and controlled this part of him. Now once I cut him in half, boom. Now I've gotten control of this leg. Boom. Once I get here, now I've isolated this part of Jeremy. Isolate, control. Isolate, control. Isolate, control. That's what you need to be thinking about when we're passing, is what part of him can I isolate, where can I create that control, and how can I use that to pass. So once I'm here, I isolate and control Jeremy's hips. So now Jeremy can't really move that much. I mean, yeah, he can push my head and do some other things, but not a lot can go on here. I'm going to go, I back step, pass, and then once I'm past his legs, I'm going to just cheat myself up and start isolating his upper body, because I've already beat the legs. Isolate up from there. Does that make sense? Does that help you at least as far as a mentality to work on?
From my experience, when you're a fighting opponent, I get thrown off balance when I try set up the knees and spread your face.
Yeah. Order of operations becomes very important whenever you're isolating. So when I'm here, a couple things I do. One, I'm going to walk my hips in. I want Jeremy's butt cheek sitting right on the cap, kind of on the front part of my thighs here. Because now if he goes to off balance me, he's not connected to the mat. It's very hard. Jeremy's bigger than me, allegedly. I'm big, strong, and handsome, but Jeremy's bigger than me on an average Tuesday. It's very hard for him to off balance me if I have control of those hips. And if I'm going to open, whichever direction I'm opening, I open that leg first. Because now if Jeremy goes to off balance me here, I have a wide base the direction I'm trying to go. Boom. And I'm keeping him on the front of that knee because it keeps him disconnected from the mat. He doesn't have a good base to work off of. Think about any powerlifting, strongman competition. What's the first thing they do? Set their base. Same thing with Jeremy. If Jeremy's going to go to move here, first thing he's got to get is his hips going. That's got to be the first thing he does. So when I walk my feet in, I get those hips isolated. Now it's going to be very hard for Jeremy to sit up and sweep. For him to hit scissor sweep or do any of those things. I've now got him isolated here. Boom. And now I can go to work. Does that make sense? Yeah. Did you have a question?
I just wanted to see your big step in the mountain.
Yeah. So boom, I'm here. Once I get here, I'm going to use that split to back step. And as soon as I come here, all I'm going to look to do is push, pull. Because as soon as that pull happens, I step over, surf to mount.
Step all the way as your own wrist.
Yep. Because I can sneak that hand back out as needed. Yes, most competitions you should score past them. So you should go, for most competitions you should see a 2, 4. Every once in a while you get hosed. I don't worry about points until the last 30 seconds. If I'm in mounts, take mounts. I don't care about the fact you didn't get 2 points. Alright, driller out. 1, 2, 3. One more. Who's got a question? I don't like you. Shut up.
You can balance.
Have you asked one yet?
When an opponent gets you in north-south and they're transitioning from side control, north-south, side control.
Yeah.
Good job defining any subs that come, but how do you get out of the sequence of taking control of the situation and getting out of that?
So if I'm here at certain tournaments, they can kind of rack up a couple points here. So what a lot of the guys are going to do is they're going to do side control. They'll hit this transition. They'll hang out here for a second. Then they'll go opposite side control. What you have to realize is, one, he's just trying to score or wait for the mistakes. So, one, don't do anything stupid. Always start there. You know, the jiu-jitsu rule number 1, don't be stupid. Right? But as he's in a lot of these transitions, a lot of times people think that I have to stay engaged in this type of battle. When I'm here, you can just create space and look to scramble away here. Like, a lot of people forget about that because scrambling is generally considered bad in jiu-jitsu. But realize, just creating space and getting away from him will cut some of that shit out. So, like, for me, a lot of the time is, what I'm going to look for is, as Jeremy's here and he's going to go to that north-south, I'm just going to look to go both hands onto shoulders here and start either looking to come all the way up or at least get back to my butt and get him in front of me. So, one, don't be afraid of creating a little bit of that scramble, or just create space and get turned back in front of you. Because what happens to a lot of people, you concede the position. So you've agreed that we're going to do jiu-jitsu right here, and I'm going to sit inside control, you're going to work side control north-south, and it's like this gentlemanly agreement that we've had to just work there. Realize sometimes you just got to be like, hey, nope, reset, let's get back to square one. So one, don't be afraid to just create that space there and get turned back in front of you. The other thing is, if I'm here and Jeremy's starting to, transition, he goes north-south, and he comes back to go back to side control, just getting simple frames in hip and face frame, but get something in front of you. So like we were talking about for the head and arm choke, I'm not looking to get back to full guard or half guard or anything like that. But just getting a couple frames in his way will cut some of that out. Does that make sense? So getting kind of that knee shield in and just getting some of that space, getting there is a lot of what I'm going to look to do. More of just a don't agree to stay in that fight. It's a, hey, I'm going to create space and start attacking. What happens to a lot of people is they get put in that side control, and then they kind of just concede that we're going to stay in that position and fight. So it's more of a mental thing and just a create space and attack than, hey, do this exact technique. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cadillac, did you have a question? Norm?
Okay. Joel murders me with this.
Yep.
And I wish it's that simple. The biggest problem I have is he always ends up using his hip and pushing that arm, so you can't do something like that.
So he's walking, just make sure I'm hearing you right. He's walking this arm up here.
Yes, that arm gets trapped, basically scarf choking.
So if he's actually going for the start choke,
No. No, he's pushing it across and using it as control.
Yeah.
And at which point he's sitting at an angle watching your hips. So he knows what you're doing.
He's watching from there.
Correct.
So if he's going to stay there, a lot of the time what I'm going to look to do is I need to get him to move. So one, I'm going to look to start dropping that elbow if I can. But the other thing I'm going to look to do, very similar to that back roll that we worked for escaping head and arm choke.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I was just wondering that because like
You can do that back roll.
Caught the scarf choke again. And so when you back roll, don't you still open up for it even more?
Not
Create that
particularly.
space that they should have.
Because if I'm here, so what I'm looking for is if he goes to hit that scarf here, I'm looking to create that space and going this way. Now, I'm not telling you you're not in trouble. I'm not saying hang out here.
Got it.
But if you want to get out of that north-south transitional trap, that is an option. You just have to realize he's also going to continue that attack. You have to be aware of the change.
I'm just looking at anything, because like I said, Joel murders me with this.
Yeah. One, getting that elbow down as early and often as possible. Very easier said than done versus that Savage. He's a monster, and his hips are low all the time. And he's somehow he can stay in like this alligator position and weigh 1,000 pounds and be balanced the entire time. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But getting as many frames in the way of him as you can, and creating even just that little bit of space.
Because me placing my frame is what gets me caught in there, because he uses that frame to push. He pushes that frame up.
Yeah. He sits and walks it. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking for anything.
Does that make sense? So, other questions here? So partners start walking north-south. Like I said, it's more of a mental thing of don't accept that position. And that's applicable in a lot of areas, guys. Sometimes me and Austin have diverging thoughts on certain things, but this is one where I think he has it right. Sometimes we just can't agree to the position. Sometimes in jiu-jitsu, we kind of go, oh, well, he got to half guard. I guess we'll just agree to be in half guard now. Or he got to butterfly, and I'm just going to... No, sometimes it is just I'm going to attack, and I'm going to set the pace of this match. I'm going to set the pace of this fight. Sometimes you have to do that. And so there's just that little bit of a mental switch that you have to have, especially if you're getting trapped in kind of a transitional battle right there, where they're just looking for the mistake. Sometimes I'm just not going to accept the fight on your terms here. Does that make sense? All right, drill her out. 1, 2, 3.